Thanks for joining us. I hope you find this of interest. David Dayton, I'm the Chief Architect at University of Birmingham. For me, business architecture is enterprise architecture. It's a domain. I like to look at things as being very integrated, and I think it would say that the is more concerned with the interconnections and relationships between things than the things themselves. There'll be a period at the end to ask questions, so please use the chat. If your question not forgotten, so here we go then. So by business architecture. Well, the Wikipedia, as is often the case, is definition is as good as any. Everything to do with the business, the G, stakeholders, capabilities, organization, etc. Information. I give a fairly standard definition of business architecture, but of course, opinion as they do on things. This is our architecture process. As you can see, it's total light. And there's the basic TOGAF. The red boxes represent the governance processes for it and for the architecture as a whole, that we provide the principles, roadmaps, and technical standards. Our architecture principles, of which there are 5 business principles. They are innovate for competitive advantage, prioritize business needs over all other considerations, agility, risk management. So the first to show you is a capability map. Many of you will recognise because its answer is the coordinate capability map for HE that we all saw, or a lot of us saw a little bit. So you've been working on for the sector as a whole, but what I did was to take that as this, and I modified and enriched it with work that I've done locally. I'm going to show you the capability map for the University of Birmingham, which is the same as the A sector one that you've all been working on. These are very, very useful, and so connecting them to systems, technology, information, external relations. Business architecture, to me, is the root all into architecture work, in that everything relates back to the business. Some of you will recognise this. So if you document version of it, and it has, as I said, I have augmented and developed using the results of work I've been doing here at the University of Birmingham. So same as the CODIT reference by any means, but that's an excellent starting point that some of us have been looking for a long time. So here's a view of what I see as the to the top level view of the University of Birmingham. We're obviously organised a little bit different to most other universities. The core capabilities, research, education, and we put a big emphasis on research-based learning. To added curation is, I believe, that one of the mission of university is to be the guardian of analysation, and that's as important as the other two. And curation includes not just museums and libraries, but also information management, in the life sense. And then you have the enabling capabilities, which are basically to keep the business right. The definition of the business is capabilities. My interpretation of business capability modeling, I think it's pretty standard approach. The version 3 of Archimate, which now includes capabilities and assets. The idea is that a capability exists only once, but it can be realized over again many different times with different people, different. And yeah, would be research. There are lots of people at the university that do research. It happens in colleges, it happens in institutes. Well, come together and be used for your business processes. The institution's goals might be the student experience or the student life cycle. So everything from through graduation, support, student residences, etc., etc. And as a convenient scoping mechanism for these things, including, and this is emphasised because this is the other half of my responsibility, basically, is information. So the way information security is to input global security mechanisms or controls that cover everything, but also there are some areas that require requirements. It's convenient to say to a scoping mechanism for say research activities, because we're really protecting research data, and it's necessarily organised because researchers also are employees of the university and they have various other we've been focusing on recently is what we're calling intelligent regulation, which is all about how do we go about satisfying the external regulatory requirements that are laid upon us by legislation and other external regulations and standards. So let's click on the link. I hope it will work. So here's an example of, it's small, isn't it? Where we're taking capabilities and mapping them to regs and policies in this case. And it's going to be very useful and a very good way of communicating with the business. Applicable portfolio management and architecture governance, trying to evaluate the business value of systems or information assets. Of course, the business and organized design. I wouldn't that can even lead on the business design, but I do contribute to it, and this is one of the things that I contribute. If we drill down to the next level, and this diagram actually is the result of a detailed study of human resources. And here are the ones that emerged during the analysis of HR. The aims of the study was to see well humans served by technology and systems, but at a detailed level. So that uses, for example, here we have take those capabilities and the different systems that were in necessarily some of them. It's cut down obviously for this presentation. Our main human resources management system is called HR, and it has a characteristic of doing what it does reasonably well, but there are a lot of gaps, as you can see. Scores are right during the business the full criteria. So for each one for yes, radiation impact, do other systems depend on it? Interplay data, obviously it does. Case is it audit complex processes, and does it support at a university, college, school, or departmental level? We taking highest as being the business value, and this is different to that, which is a pretty standard system quality attributes, and obviously these are heavily influenced by for example, is radically different for cloud-based systems. Taking the two, value and quality, on this, the approach to a given. So obviously the magic quadrant is invest, which means high value and high technical quality, system quality. If it's low in each case, then we need to get rid of it as soon as possible. If it's high bit value but system quality, we probably need to migrate to something else, upgrade it, or a new system or something. If it's high but low value, then we tolerate it in the environment, but it doesn't actually give much benefit. That's the other. This is invented by me. It's based on papers delivered conference years ago. HR, this. So HR is pretty good at most of what it does, but it's everything we need. So once fed into a process that has now resulted in investing in a new HR finance system with Oracle, which is a big project for us. We call that new call. So all be gone within a couple of years. The architecture is not just all about processes and capabilities and what have you, behavior. It's also about the information at an enterprise level. So the basis for that, starting point for that was the coordinate model. I think that's useful. Obviously, I defined it quite a bit. Found the outcome of that process, the capabilities and the data model to be very, very useful and I've got a bit of socialising them around the university. So I'm really confident that they're not only miles away from the it's not an enterprise data model. A considerable amount of work would be related to create an enterprise data model. If there was that, and my experience in industry before coming here was that actually probably isn't much. Most enterprise data modeling, sector data modeling initiatives I've been involved with have not done so much, basically, not delivered on their promise. For example, we have a data management model, which is a data management program with partly partly from the new core program that I mentioned earlier. We felt that we really needed to get a handle on data management at the enterprise level. So one of the things we're doing is building, for example, an information asset register. We already have one of those, but we need a new one with more information on it, and that has a big impact on some of the things that makes a big contribution to things that will insecurity, for example. When the GDPR is looming, and we have a GDPR working group, which is and what is based on the enterprise information model that I have here. Things that we've done is to nominate information owners at a senior level for each type of information, each area of information, major topic, if you like. Normally, an officer who is accountable to the university for that information, and then below them are the stewards, who are effectively the responsible managers. Those of you who are familiar with RACI will recognise this terminology, and that's pretty much. So here's your model. So hasn't changed a lot from the Cordit reference picture. A bit. We found actually in most cases, and this model drives the Enterprise Data Management Initiative, the GDPR initiative, and others. So this slide really I included because I like it, and it's kind of relevant. What do we mean by data and information anyway, just to be clear about it? So interpreted or to render information, it's understood to render knowledge, as manages to take effective decisions and action to meaningful results. Relevant to business architecture, perhaps. Bear with me. Data management initiatives generate a number of principles. Not my architecture principles. These are data principles arrived at business, a way of approaching the area of the issue of data management across the university. And important because I believe it's important, and it's particularly important to get engagement from the business which we have, and eyes to the curation capability I talked about earlier. Doing is working master data management. So this is just an example of some of the mappings of the in the information model to systems, in the approach of nominating systems as the master of particular entities. It's not easy because also find that all the information required for a given entity is not present in the system, so it has to be supplemented. For instance, we have post applicants with DIPs for the student information system, which is actually 3 different systems. Actually, that was very short, wasn't it? So I can't hear anybody else speaking, by the way. Would you ask some questions now? Can I have examples? Hello, anybody there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've just posted one question up that somebody sent through. Can you see it? In the chat. Yes. One is about the slides. But you're okay, I'm assuming, to make the slides available.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah.
And we're videoing the presentation as well. Somebody else has posted and asked a question. I think that Birmingham differs in terms of for the universities. Is that around collegiate? What sort of base were you basing?
Well, the organisation into colleges, College of Engineering and Physical Science, College of Social Sciences, etc. Open to a lot of institutions. It's obviously very different to collegiate universities like Oxford, Cambridge. Point in the past, we did faculties, and the faculties into these colleges. I think it's likely to happen again soon, but it could happen. But the point is that even as it doesn't actually change what we do, so I think the approach of looking at capability modelling is studied. That's strength, I think. I think we do is what most universities do. There might be a few foibles, differences, but I think it's pretty generic. So I'm happy to contribute that to the joint effort.
And did you define the roles of data owners and data stewards? What, if any, resistance did you encounter?
We didn't encounter much resistance. This was picked up at level sponsored by the University Executive Board. We took the default ups that the senior officer generally heads of schools. Organisation is schools within colleges. So, School of Computer Science is part of the College of Engineering and Physical Sciences, for example. So that would be the data owners, and they've been told what their responsibilities are, and most of them are happy with that. Data stewards tend to be the operational managers who are responsible on a day-to-day basis, but of course there are probably there are several data stewards to each data owner. The project is a little bit different. It started off with the idea that the peer would be the data owner or the info owner. But I think we've changed from that to say that the culture of research is likely to be the owner, and the PI is the steward, or the PI and someone nominated by him. Others to fit pretty well. Of course, involved, we need to train people in what their responsibilities are, and we're implementing a dictionary, an informational dictionary, using for GDPR and data management initiatives, for example.
Related to that, there's a couple of questions around about, and we always get these, is about how did you sell the idea? There's a lot of work gone into doing this.
Yes.
And actually getting people like data owners involved. How did you sell that idea to see management and sort of get the resources to do it?
Well, I didn't go on a big initiative to sell it. What I did was take advantage of things that requirements that came up, questions that I was asked, to use as evidence in my reply. And there's been a lot of interest in this type of modelling, and quite of feedback. So I'm pretty confident about it. I suppose what I'm saying is it was a thin end of the wedge approach. I didn't make a big noise about it to begin with, but I used it and showed it to people in different contexts. For example, when the Agent Regulation Initiative came up, I had that in terms of the things that we do rather than organisational units. People tend to think hierarchically. I must say the reason for it was quite enthusiastic. I'd see, as you might have noticed, gone down to I've done regulation. I've restricted it to level 0 and level 1 capability. I've gone further down than that, but I can do that if it seems to be appropriate. Question from Graham Cook about Alter HR. Yes, I mean, it came out that the things that Alter HR does, it does quite well, which means invest, but there are a lot of gaps, things that are just not supported by it. So the culture is different. The gap score is 0. And I could, but I didn't want to dwell too much on that particular aspect of it. Is that Graham?
So, I'm just going to read this question verbatim. It's what's the relationship between people? Oh, it's just off screen. Oh, mute 1 second. This is why things happen. The relationship between strategic level projects and change teams, the IT to business architects were undertaken. Is it integrated part of the university level change process?
I wouldn't quite go that far. It's something that we IT services contribute into different initiatives. I won't say that it's established. That makes sense. There. You know, department, and I'm seen as being a representative of the IT department. So we do have business change groups. There's a strategic change team, and I give input into them, but I don't lead them.
We've got quite a few questions coming in, though, so I think if we can just we'll try and keep the answers fairly short. Sorry if that's okay, just so we can try and get everybody in. But on a technical level, do you use an ESB, and what are you using?
Yeah, we do. We use Microsoft Business Talk. Of course, it's a very flexible platform, and we too. I had to insist that we implement as an ESB and not do other kinds of things, all the other things that you can do with Business Talk. I think that was initiated and sponsored by architecture.
Okay. It's quite around in terms of resource. What sort of size team have you got to do this work, and what sort of skill sets have they got?
Well, there's me. I'm basically the enterprise architect, a data architect, and an infrastructure architect. did really. When I had worked in situations before where we had a big architecture team, and the way the work is, the work expands to fit the available capacity. But if you try and keep it lean and mean, which we're trying to do here, I know it isn't even my full job, because the other half of my job is to be the CISO, information security. Do what we can, and I think we get, I think we do the essential and we get the benefit from that. We don't have capacity to do everything that we do.
Okay, I think you've answered part of this question, but I'll read to you anyway. Are your data entries solely documenting Archimate, or have a business glossary / enterprise data dictionary that they do using data across the business?
Well, the way I work with Archimate, I use the Archie free tool, by the way, which stores models as XML. So additional XML tools with these style sheets that I developed myself to export that data into a format, put to a database, and data architect Shuja is developing an enterprise, not a data dictionary like a database data dictionary, but all the definitions and the relationships that are in the more ported into that. And it's something that he's built using Oracle Apex. Quite quick. Thinking of buying a product, we didn't find one that really did what we wanted to do. I don't know if any of you have looked at Data Cookbook, for example. We were thinking of that one for a while. A do-it-yourself type of product. It seems to be working pretty well in that it provides what working in the initiative needs at the moment, but it doesn't rule out buying a more sophisticated tool later on.
There's a couple of questions or two questions coming through that are very specific about the HR system.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest we part those days, and if people want to contact you, that they do that.
If anybody wants to contact me after the session, I'm happy to respond.
If it's okay with you, what I do is I'll send a link out to the presentation and I'll include your contact details on it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So there's another question here that's quite pertinent, because it's something that we've done here at Coventry. We've had a discussion about it. On your HR model, you chose to model the HR in terms of capabilities rather than services.
Yeah.
Any views on that?
That's how I approach it. I found that modeling is a very efficient way of doing the kind of review that I've been to do. We have a sort of rolling process here called the monthly reviews, where there's a that focuses on, usually it's 2 corporate departments and 2 colleges or 2 schools per year. I do feeds into that. So of that process comes majors, for example. On HR, to the HR Vice Chancellor's review, and part of the result of that was the decision to go for a new HR management system, which is part of the new core project I mentioned earlier. A lot of money on the HR and finance, hosted by Oracle.
Actually, that's a little bit linked to that. It's you could roadmaps based on capability models. If you do, how useful are they in the business areas? How useful the areas find them?
I'll repeat the question. The sound wasn't very good just then.
Hi, I think I might have muted myself halfway through, which probably didn't add to it. The question was, do you create roadmaps based on the capability models? And if you do, how useful as a business is find these?
I do create roadmaps. The problem with maps is that they, change, and the roadmap becomes out of date very quickly. The overall architecture review doesn't change so much, but the team changes quite a bit. Create roadmaps in quite an informal way, which essentially is the capability model and other inputs into. I've got these star sheets that generate HTML, so I generate these HTML roadmaps from time to time. Temporary artifacts, I think, rather than core artifacts.
Okay. Into your projects, David, do you right down at the project level, are people sort of taking copies of the brands and the maps that you're producing and using those within Change?
I mean, there is I run an architecture and security governance process where my team reviews each project, and each project against the capability maps, what capabilities it addresses, what value it gives, and against the architecture principles, for example. And I'm quite happy to share that if anyone's interested. So yeah, it wasn't the case, and it's an evolving thing, but these days I always ask some penetrating questions about what capabilities are we automating here, what enterprise data are we impacting, etc., etc.
I think that in terms of the questions.
We're well under time, aren't we? I mean, I thought 12 was about the right number. I went through them a bit too quickly. Does anyone want me to go back and maybe something in a bit more detail? In the 20 minutes that we left.
Okay. While we're thinking about that, I'm just going to say, firstly, a big thank you to David for making today. It's always great that when something comes through the knowledge, and we're still looking for people to do that for future webinars. Just as a quick selling point, we are going to do, as many people will know, that there is the USAREA COP is running a project currently to try and create a sort of generic capability model for the UK safety sector based on the core model, and we're going to do a presentation on that, a webinar next month. I'm hoping to get the date out time this week, and that'll go on and sort of talk a little bit more about the stuff that David talked about today. So yeah, that's coming up. Webinar, and from if you are doing the presentation for that. I don't think we've got any more questions coming through, David. So I think I'm just hold on. Sorry, yeah, we go on here. Why do you find that an enterprise data model isn't worthwhile?
In my before working at the university, I was in financial services, car manufacturing, basically. The problem with them is getting them right, and it's a move target. Value you get from having enterprise data model is limited, because actually the systems or projects, their own data models, which do necessarily correspond to the overarching one. And we've for a couple of banks who put a lot of effort into developing entity models, and the initiatives never really delivered on their promise. I think it's just too much maybe because the tooling isn't right yet.
Okay, a few more questions covered in there. So again, that's relevant, that always comes up as part of the EACA is about tooling. Interesting that you guys use Archie, and somebody sort of asking the question, do you have multiple users in Archie? Because one of the limitations that they're finding is how to have multiple users working on the same model.
Yeah, well, I keep the models in SharePoint, so when you work on a model, you have to check it out for yourself, work on it, and check it back in, and that's not entirely satisfactory. We also have Spark's Enterprise Architect. The image support in that isn't wonderful, so we use it for UML. We also use that. I have the some of the repository aspects of a typical EA tool with the service management system now for that. We have the NDBs in ServiceNow, for example. And working together work reasonably well, but it may we'll look at more sophisticated tools. It's easy to get hung up on tools and forget the essential. I mean, a lot of enterprise architects work with Microsoft Office, don't they? And it doesn't say what they do isn't good.
Challenges are you having with adopting, enabling the cloud technology and services around this? What are the strategic plan for this, and how do you manage the business changes needed to adopt these?
Well, I get involved in all projects quite early, and we have a standard set of requirements, include cloud. So, those requirements are that I want the cloud service provider to operate in university single sign-on, for example, that via small. And have requirements around interfacing, solved early, and those I have certain questions that go into procurement documents and monitor that all the way through the project and verify formal review that's been done. I sign off, so I won't sign off if they haven't deviated from what was agreed up front, basically.
No, I'm just a messenger.
Sorry.
Okay. So you use an enterprise data model. How do you map data systems in BizTalk? And does BizTalk in effect impose a canonical data model?
Yeah, we're using the canonical schema function in BizTalk to hold the master definitions for each of the entities. And we haven't got very far with that, to be honest with you. We're at the beginning of a long journey. The canonical schemas are managed by my team. We interact with the project when they talk. By the way, I get a requirement that projects must use BizTalk for interfacing, system interfacing, except there's a clear requirement for a batch file, for example. We don't have, for example, a master data management tool. Is BizTalk, and we use Spark Enterprise Architect to part of, and then goes from that into BizTalk.
I think we're there. So I'm going to say, because it's 10:02, we'll perhaps just wind up, David, and if anybody's got any more questions, specifics around the HR system, they should potentially fight you. Once again, thanks for that. It's really appreciated. We've got some really good feedback already. Many thanks for that, and we will put the recording out sometime towards the end of this week. It usually takes a day just to come through to us. So I'll send that out to everybody.
All right.
So thank you. And thank you to our for listening. Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.